Hello, May class, and welcome to your next PSHE lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to continue looking at the Book of Hopes that we have been reading through. I will be reading through a new story. So in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at, can I think about and share what worries me? So we're going to look at some things that worry us and what we could possibly do, hopefully, to help us with this. So we're going to read another story from Catherine Rundell's The Book of Hopes. So sit back, maybe put on a little bit of relaxing music in the background, close your eyes, and have a listen to this story while I read it. The Monk and the Armadillo. Situated somewhere between the cold, snowy peaks of Nepal and the tall, swaying mango trees of India, stands the highest mountain your imagination could possibly imagine. And right on the very top of this mountain's tip lies a single straw hut, inside which lived a monk, a very holy man who believed it was his calling to sit on top of this mountain in complete isolation until he understood the depth and the breadth of the universe and everything in between. Now, sitting in a straw hut all day and all night, with nothing but the sun and the moon and the wind to keep you company, can get awful boring, especially if you've been doing it for 50 years, as this very wise monk had. And so deep down in his heart, the monk began to grow restless and started to hope for a sign that would tell him his knowledge was complete, that he had learned everything he could possibly learn, and that he should return back down the mountain to the beautiful village he had once grown up in, the friends he had left behind, and the food he couldn't help but dream about. Having survived on nothing but grains and seeds collected from between the rocks of the mountain for 50 years, the monk secretly hoped his sign would come soon. For oh, how he longed to taste a bowl of hot, delicious noodles, floating with a million spring onion hoops, just like his mother used to make. And even though he could have left the mountain at any time, the monk knew in his heart that he had to wait for a sign if he was to leave it in peace. A year went by, and another, and still the monk continued to secretly hope, until one day, all the way from the golden hot sands of Arabia, his sign began to make its way to him. For a mighty storm was hurtling across the desert plains, and like the inside of a giant washing machine, had snatched a poor armadillo up in its arms. The armadillo, frightened and alone, curled itself up into a tiny ball of iron armor and squeezed its eyes tight, hoped with all its heart that it would land safe and sound and not too far from home. The storm was fierce and wild and hungry and unknown to the armadillo, loved to travel. So imagine its surprise when, on feeling itself be dropped, the armadillo found itself not in a desert at all, but outside the door of a straw hut situated on the snow-capped peak of a mountain that stood so high above the clouds it could almost touch the stars. And imagine his surprise when just a few hours later, the monk opened his door to find a poor armadillo shaking at its feet. "It's here!" cried the monk, lifting the armadillo up in his hands with a joyous smile. "My sign is here, and it is in need of help." And thanks to the skies that had brought this little life to his door, the monk ran down the mountain at once to find help for his new friend. I am pleased to say that the monk and the armadillo went on to become great friends, for each had fulfilled the hopes of the other. The monk by forever after keeping the armadillo warm and fed and happy, and the armadillo by inspiring the monk to become a vet and eat just as many bowls of hot, delicious noodles as he liked. So worrying. And there's a little note there that says everything is going to be okay. So I want you to think, are you worried about a lot of things right now? Here are a few things that you may be worrying about or may be worrying you. Your health or the health of others, school, friends, family, and more. So extended family, maybe family, friends. I'll give you an example of something that worries me. So something that worries me is my family, because my family's really far away and I worry about them and making sure that they're keeping safe and making sure that they're happy. And I try and phone them when I can to make sure that they are keeping well and that everything's going okay. But it is still something that worries me. So we're going to look at a worry jar. A worry jar is a place for you to put your worries so that you don't have to think about them all the time. So I want you to think, can you find a jar or any container somewhere in the house and decorate it if you would like? We can label it as a worry jar. And anything that's maybe worrying you, we can put our little worries into there, no matter how big or how small they are. If you haven't got a spare jar, you can write or draw a picture on the following slide. Write one worry on one piece of paper, fold it up and put it away, closing the jar if you've got one, or closing the little box. Choose about 10 or 15 minutes a day, but not right before bed, because obviously we don't want to have these things in our minds before we go to bed. But maybe in the morning you can have 10 or 15 minutes of worry time during the day. And then you open your worry jar and you look inside and you look at what you've written, and maybe you worry as much as you want. So you can talk to someone while you're worried. You can say, this is what's worrying me today. You can read the worries that you've done or focus on one or two. So reading through, is this still worrying me? And you can maybe explain your worry to someone, why you're worried about it. Set a timer so that you know that when worry time is over, we can put it away. So close the jar to put your worries away. At some point, you'll realize that you've stopped worrying about something you've put in the jar. And then once that worry is gone, you can maybe take it out and throw it away. Enjoy the fact that you've stopped worrying about something with your family and friends. So maybe it's something like, I can look at my worry about my family and I can put that in my worry jar. And every day I kind of look at it and go, well, I think I'm still worried about them. But then maybe one day I make a phone call and my mom or my dad says to me, actually, we're doing really great. You don't need to worry about us. We are fit and healthy and we are keeping safe. And then the next time I look at that worry in my worry jar, I remember what my mom or my dad said, that they're actually doing okay. And then I can say, well, I'm not going to worry about them anymore. I'm going to rip up my worry because actually I feel okay about it today. And we can put it away. It can be something as well like something at school that you're worried about. Maybe it's your 12 times table and you're really worried about that and not knowing it. And then you put it in your worry jar. But we're still working on it every day. We're still working on our 12 times tables until you get to the point where actually I feel really okay with this now. I can take it out of my worry jar. I'm not worried about it anymore because I've really worked on it and now I know it. So now I don't need to worry about it anymore. If you aren't able to get your own worry jar, maybe you want to draw your own worry jar and put some things in there. And then every time you have a bit of worry time, have a look and see if those are still the things that worry you. Maybe you can talk to someone about your worries. And then eventually, if your worries don't worry you anymore, we can cross them out. You can create something new. You can tear up your worry jar once you're finished. So that's something that you can do as well. So I've got 3 challenges for you today. Make a list of things that are worrying you. Create a worry jar for yourself. Remember that it does not have to be a jar. It can be a little box. It can be a container or space you have in your home where you can put your worries. And then share what worries you are no longer worried about. So if you've spoken to your adults and said, well, this is what's worrying me, so I'm going to put it in my worry jar, then when you're feeling better about it, you can say to someone, I no longer worry about this. I'm feeling much better about it. So I hope you really enjoyed the story, and I really hope that this helps you with your worries that you have and things that you are feeling anxious about. And it's just one way that we can deal with them is putting them into our jar, giving us time to worry about them, but also putting them away and thinking, right, I'm not going to focus on them. I'm going to focus on something else today. And then you can come back to them and say, am I still worried about this? Maybe you are. If you're not worried about it, then take it out of your worry jar. I hope that you are having a good day and that you had a lovely weekend. Please feel free to share, like we said, the 3 challenges with us on Tapestry so I can see your worry jars.